As leaders, it's so easy for us to get caught up in tasks, strategies, and our to-dos. But all of those things have no value if we don't know how to take care of the people we oversee. If strategies and tasks cause us to neglect our people, then no matter the results we're getting, they're worthless. So how do we lead at a high level, get incredible results, while still taking care of our people? Well, welcome to the Good Leader Podcast.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone, and welcome to a special Christmas holiday edition of the Good Leader Podcast. Whatever end of the year celebration you are celebrating, we celebrate it with you. I personally celebrate Christmas. Jess has a Christmas tree. Jess, you just look like a real festivity. Jess, I'm putting you on the spot. We didn't even say this was on the script, but it's important. This is Good Leader Podcast. We've been talking about culture. We've been all kinds of stuff. Tell us what happened. Tell us what happened with your staff with Christmas. Go ahead.
Begin.
You have the floor, Jess.
So I got pretty close with a group of our staff members after a event we went on in South Bend, Indiana. Shout out South Bend. And we had just ended up talking about how I don't really care for Christmas because it just is filled with high expectations and it's just never really been like happy time of year for me personally. Well, those individuals I was with took it into their own hands to plan a surprise for them to buy me a Christmas tree. So I showed up to work like any other normal day. And Jared randomly was like, we need to have a chat. We need to have a chat. And my heart was beating so fast. I was so anxious. I was like, something bad is happening, like something serious. And I was so
I did act mad. In your defense, I acted mad. I purposefully put on my thespian pants and I acted mad. I just got off a Zoom call with corporate clients that Jess had helped organize. So I knew that she would be kind of anticipating some feedback. So I said, I need everybody in the lounge right now. All staff meeting.
Rushed.
Everybody get there. Everybody get there right now.
And he had his like stern dad face on. Like there's like that irritated Jared, and then there's like a
so we
Jared,
all
and it was a yikes Jared.
Even my favorite part was another team member, Olivia. Olivia was like, Jared, do we need to bring stuff? Like, do we need our laptops, notebooks? What do you want us to bring? And I said, I think my quote was like, and Jess heard this. I said, I don't care. I don't know who I need to talk to. So I'm talking to everybody.
So I'm talking to
I said, I just got off of a Zoom call with a bunch of clients.
So very
I don't know who I need to talk to, so I'm talking to everybody.
This was my planned
Get to the
Zoom
lounge.
Call. So I'm like, if anybody's responsible for this call, it's mainly me. And so I'm freaking out. Olivia and Andre are in the car with me, and I'm like, y'all, I'm about to have a panic attack. Like, something bad's going to happen.
She's like not speaking. She's not. Olivia and I are like laughing, hanging out. We realize like, Jess, are you
like
okay?
I'm
She's
freaking
like,
out.
My
Well,
anxiety is so high.
so
right
we
now.
all go to our warehouse, and I open up the door, and every person is lined up in a perfect like line, and I walk in, and they shout, "Merry Christmas!" And I was like, "Me? Like for me? Like what is this?" And they all move away, and there's a huge tree behind them. Everyone has picked me out my own specific ornament. Like I started bawling. I blacked out, y'all. Like I literally don't even really remember any of it from that point forward because I was just like, what in the world is going on? Like couldn't eat. I was crying. It was this whole thing. So I was blessed with this tree.
What Jess didn't know is it had been in the works for weeks, and Caleb Swank on our team was the main organizer, with help from others, and just let us know the exact story that Jess shared. But every single person participated. And when we tie this into culture, what are we doing? It wasn't necessarily about Christmas. It was about Jess. And we want to show Jess that we love her, we appreciate her, we care about her. And so we took time as a staff, and we had a separate secret Slack channel. Like this has been going on. What's hilarious is the number of conversations that have happened about this little moment that Jess had no idea was happening. And it was awesome. It was great. It was great feedback on what is the cultural lesson or takeaway that you think the listeners of the Good Leader Podcast should take away. If there was a nugget of truth that you discovered or rediscovered, or that your little heart was just reignited for culture creation at Paradigm Shift, what would that be?
I think it was just a reminder that you don't need all the big hits and tricks to change your culture. Small actions go such a long way. And even though this specific thing was for Jess, what that tells so many people who first of all got to be a part of it and celebrate her is I am a part of this. Because like you said, our whole staff was in it, on it. We're having all these side conversations about just around it, but also a representation that we actually mean what we preach, and we do what we preach as well, and we mean it. And so for me, I remember standing there thinking not only is this really cool for Jess, but I love that our whole staff gets to see what people first means. And in some way, in some shape or form, it's like them next. And it's, someone else that we really see needs to value, someone else who needs flowers or needs a celebration or needs a shoulder to cry on. And just the amount of intentionality we put into it. It doesn't need to be all the big hype things, a big year annually goal. It's just the little things you do day to day that add to your culture.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Big doors swing on little hinges. We say it a lot at Paradigm Shift, but my encouragement with that was take the time. Take the time, and the time is not some big, drastic, we're going to do this giant thing. It was actually even this, I was pleased as a cultural entrepreneur, a student of leadership, to recognize, you know what, we did not, if I'm really breaking this down, and I didn't anticipate doing this, but it was really cool. It was a cool moment for me. But Anj, our CEO, did not lead this. Our chief visionary officer, did not lead this. One of our team members led this. It was someone without any giant authority. It was just a team member who said, hey, I recognize this in a team member. We're going to do it. Is it cool if we all do it? Can I? And yes, the answer was yeah, go for it. And it did not take long. I mean, we were, 30 minutes max, right before lunch that day, that it actually took. And for many of us, it was you drop in, you step in, you celebrated Jess. We said, Merry Christmas. We stepped out. So I think sometimes, yes, these things changing culture takes time, but it happens in these moments. And when you are doing it right, and so to celebrate culture creation for a moment, we celebrate not only, the Jess part of it, but to me, it was the Swank part of it. And him being aware, hey, other people on the team would like to do this. He could have done the same thing with just their group of friends, the people that were on that trip, the people that were there, and it would have been just as meaningful, been wonderful, and a great, great gesture for Jess. But the fact then that we were able to that it was a part of our culture, but that we didn't have to. I think sometimes as leaders, we're guilty of trying to overtake and brand things, oh yeah, let's take this and make it a thing. No, it was Swank's kind gesture that we got to be a part of. It was not, hey, announcement, alarm bells, as a culture, we're going to show that we care about somebody. You know what I'm saying? I think that sometimes as leaders, we're guilty of that. Lim, have you ever seen that? I think that you see that sometimes where it's okay, you took something that was pretty good and now it becomes a little bit gaudy because we tried to overwhelm it.
You use things as branding opportunities. I've seen a lot of organizations, they'll go out and serve the community, but a primary motivation is so that they can post on Instagram and show that they serve the community. It kind of takes the heart out from underneath what the true meaning of the service should be. So I love that. We got to love you, Jess.
It was great. It was good stuff. With this Christmas season, then, it's the end of the year. It's a time of celebration. It's a time of gratitude. We're going to talk about gratitude over the next 4 weeks in small little nuggets. I encourage you, take some time to reflect and show that appreciation. I have been hung up on this quote by Max Dupree the last few weeks. It's written in my planner. I've looked at it a lot. I just love it. The first job of every single leader is to define reality. The last job of every leader is to say thank you. In between, your job is to serve. That is the impetus for these next 4 weeks, these next 4 podcasts that we discuss. How do you end the year strong? Well, it's the end of the year, but if you're like me, and I think a lot of people listening to this, I'm ending the year. I'm celebrating. I love Christmas. I am opposite of Jess. I don't need any extra. I didn't need any extra. I'm here. I am all in, baby. I am like Clark Griswold, ready to have Christmas. It is a great time. It's a great celebration. and I'm ending the year, but I'm also already in 2023. Like my brain, I am already in 2023. John Maxwell, in his book Leadership Gold, that says the higher you are in leadership, the further ahead you should be forecasting, that you should be ahead, and that if you are a leader, the leader of your organization, especially if you're an executive, if you're an upper management, you should be 6 months ahead. So I'm already trying to be 6 months, 8 months ahead in my planning prediction. So it's this weird dichotomy. So with that quote, I feel like I'm living both. I am trying to end the year, the last thing, say thank you. And I'm also beginning the next iteration, the next year, which is to define reality. So when we get back from this break, we're going to help you define reality with 4 questions. We're going to cover 4 questions over the next 4 weeks of how you should define reality, what questions should be asking. These are major questions to help end your year well and start the year off right when we get back from the break.
We are unlocking individuals' leadership potential, and we just can't do it without you. Visit www.ps.company to explore topics, workshops, and curriculum. Let's create positive change together.
We are back, and let's go straight into what's trending. I don't know if we have do we have what's trending music? Do we have like a soundbite for this, or do I need to make one up?
Maybe we can get something added in post.
Yeah, we need to get some edits in there because I think we need just Gen Z theme music here. Some sort of like some intro. But anyway, so you got to choose. Okay, yeah. So what's trending? Brought to you by our resident Gen Z, Jess. Give us a treat.
Jared, are you aware of the high-end fashion brand called Balenciaga?
Well, Jess, of all my traits, high-end fashion is very high.
You don't know who Balenciaga
very, very
is.
high. I mean, I tend to shop at Ollie's or, Walls or, Walmart. Faded Glory. I grew up wearing Faded Glory and British Knights.
Faded Glory?
All right. So, no.
I don't even know what those are.
Well, it's pretty. Faded Glory, it's a Walmart brand, or it used to be a Walmart brand. It was definitely Walmart. I grew up when Spalding wasn't cool. I was wearing Spalding when you didn't want to. That's my era. So, so no. What did you say? Balenciaga? Is that a name? Is that a person? Balenciaga? Did I get it right?
Yeah.
So it's like saying Gucci.
Right.
It's like saying Gucci, Versace, Balenciaga.
You're right there with us, okay?
There you go.
So Balenciaga, very high end
We have so much
brand.
to cover now.
It's right up there with Gucci. So think high end. Well, they also have a kids line. I'm pretty sure Gucci has a kids line as well. So they have this kids line, and they're doing a Christmas.
Those kids, I probably want to hit those kids in the face, to be honest. But let's keep going.
So
those kids, they're wearing Balenciaga.
Am I a part of Balenciaga?
What's going on?
I don't know what's happening. They hire a production company to do a Christmas advertisement for them. And this production company, I don't know what they were thinking, but they have kids in their advertisement, and these kids are wearing Balenciaga. There's Balenciaga all over the room, and they have these stuffed animals wearing like chains and spikes and like yes, it's like, and it's like
it's called BDSM.
Like
I can't remember that.
Yeah, it's like sexual. So they have.
Oh, it's like sexual.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I'm getting serious. I was being jokey, but now I'm not like. Now I'm getting mad. Now I'm not liking it.
It gets worse.
No, you're
these
not
stuffed animals by chains, like by harnesses, and these. Oh, he's looking it up. I know he is, and. Yeah, so,
I am looking it up.
And they
I was just about to send you a picture.
I'm looking it up.
Holiday advertisement with them holding these stuffed animals with chains and yes. And so
sexualizing
Balenciaga apparently now is suing the production company that they hired to do this, but I'm also like, who wrote off on that? And so many questions.
Yeah.
I have so many questions. Even on the leadership side, I'm like, how did it get approved all the way up until it went out?
There was another layer where another one of the photos in the same campaign, it was that purse or one of the purses on the desk, but the papers underneath were from the Supreme Court, whatever it's called, that dealt with child pornography. So it was
and then
very blatant. So it was all connected.
and they've just been
Really
like kind of
disgusting.
canceled.
So there's been a ton of news all around that.
Yeah.
It was
Okay.
very, very trending.
Actually, okay. So I couldn't have told you the brand, but I know the story. I could not have told you the brand Balenciaga. But
this morning
I did hear about this
Fresh on the
story
brain.
this morning. So, yeah, it's fresh on the brain. Yeah. So, you want my thoughts? That's what you want me to react to this story? Holy smokes. I mean, this was not the what's trending. I thought I said, Jess, give us a treat, not a sermon.
It was
You're going to
Anna's
make me go
idea.
off here on what I think. So, okay. All right.
It wasn't my idea. I just said if
Yeah,
we're talking
it's
about what
pretty
is
big.
trending in the world right now, we're missing a mark if we don't talk about this.
Well, that's true. Well,
That's just good leadership.
I mean, this is the Good Leader podcast. So, this is a Good Leader
Talking about
podcast.
bad leadership,
so,
maybe.
Yeah, I mean, number one, yes. I mean, it's ridiculous to me. They should lose the lawsuit. They should lose the lawsuit, and they should be sued themselves. Like, I can't hire somebody, and then somebody signed off. Somebody signed off on that. Somebody, they're just trying to save face now to make it look like, oh, we didn't know about this. We were against this. Now that okay, Jess, you fired me up. Leadership lesson first, and I'm not even to the part that really makes me mad. The leadership lesson is this. You cannot, remember we talked about decision making? This is contemporary leadership. They threw something out there, they saw the reaction, and now they're reacting to the reaction. They're not leading by their values or principles. It's like when someone says a joke that wasn't a joke, and then they go, oh, I was just kidding. I was just joking. No, you're not. You're being a jerk. You're an a-hole. That was a rude thing to say, but nobody laughed. And so, oh, I was just kidding. That was just a joke. No, it wasn't. Like, this was your ad. Mm-hmm. This was your thing. This was your thing. The only reason that they're suing is so the court of public opinion will maybe side in their favor. Yeah, I'm looking at pictures on it. It's terrible.
I mean, when we talk about leading with values and like letting that create your decisions, I don't see Balenciaga as a brand who even has values. I mean, I think that at the end of the day, they're just a high-end fashion company that cares about money. So it's like very evident that there were no values-based anything ever.
Well, everyone has. Well, when we say values-based decision making, that is not a right or wrong statement. Like, in other words, you could say, I can say anything can be your value. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can have something that I think is a negative. Like, values-based decision making doesn't mean morally sound. You have to change. You have to decide. All of us. You have to decide what is morally sound. To me,
someone could have evil values.
Evil value, absolutely. Like, but it is values-based leadership. That's why I say. I mean, this is another unpopular opinion, but I mean, Hitler was a man of high integrity. He really lived out his values. I think it was detestable, evil, wrong, but you're living out your values. Most dictators actually are values-based decision makers. They are tyrannical. They are wrong. That's why in the 4 cores of credibility by Covey, that it's integrity, intent, capabilities, and result. Their intent is off. That is wrong. So from a leadership perspective, this to me flies in the face no matter what your values are. No matter what your values are. My personal values are radically against this, my personal values. But from a leadership perspective, someone could say, I mean, honest to goodness, like, if I'm Playboy, well, okay, sex, you're selling sex. Like, that's that's what you're selling. Like, that is what you're selling. That's fine. Who am I to judge? I'm not here to tell the whole world how to live. I believe what I believe. I would love to share it with you, but who am I to tell you that your values are wrong? Except when I believe, now here's where I'm really going to get fired up.
Bring it.
I'm going to get fired up.
Bring it.
Yeah.
Except when it involves the voiceless or the innocent. Mm-hmm. Then it is my moral responsibility. If Lemuel wants to do something with Lemuel's life as a 30-year-old man, whatever, dude. I can say, I think you're wrong. I can talk to you about it as a friend, as a mentor, as a brother, or whatever. But he's a grown man. Okay? He is not voiceless. He is not defenseless. He can do whatever he wants to do and deal with the consequences. I believe that we have I will say this, any sexualization of a child is absolutely wrong. It is abhorrent. It is the lowest of the low to me. It is this to me, and this to me is like whomever took this picture is a child molester to me. I could not take the picture. If someone says, I'm just about to cry. This is awful. It's awful. This is like the depravity of man.
Well, and what it does too is it desensitizes the nation, because
yes,
I don't ever remember news like this. So the fact that it's out and in the public, it's like there's layers of our society that's degrading because we're desensitizing our culture in the long run.
It is. So that's the thing. Like I said, I get really fired up when it comes to, like I said, you be you, except when you're talking about. That's where I say I know that I am as a human, as an adult, I am more prude than the average Joe. And that's okay. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's totally fine. Like I have super high, honestly, really old school, really, really highly prudent. Like I am not, I mean, honestly, to the point where someone would probably call me out for it in today, but I'm like, well, I just don't do it. I am rarely, if ever, alone with someone as a heterosexual male. I am never alone with someone of the opposite sex in a locked room or behind closed doors. If I have to have a private meeting, like if Anj is our chief executive officer, there are times she and I have to have a meeting together. The door is never locked. It is rarely closed. Windows are always open. Like I never travel alone with a female. Why? Because like I want to live above reproach. Now that's me. I'm not saying that everybody has to live like that. I'm really not. But that's where it's values-based decision-making. But then when it gets to this stuff, you're talking about what's trending. Yes, if this is what's trending, this is where I say all of us, regardless of what your faith is, like obviously my faith, as people who listen to this podcast, dictates my belief system and my values. But this is the kind of stuff where I say, listen, you think this is great? Like, you think this is acceptable? Like, this to me is unacceptable on an ethical level. It doesn't matter to me what your religion is, what your background is. I'm like, you got it. We as a society, we got to draw the line somewhere. And I'm like, we have got to draw the line on this. No way. No way. No way. No way. Like, no way. The sexualization of children, no way. No way. No way. And so when you do this, when I see this kind of stuff, like Lim said, it does show that we have been desensitized to the fact of where it's like, okay, well, do we agree on this? Do we agree on this? To where it's like, do you agree? You know, it's like, and I'll be hyperbolic. And this is where your leadership, to me, my leadership goes. I'm like, do you agree with me? Do we agree as a society that this, like child abuse, child molestation is wrong? Yes. Well, what do we call this? This to me it's the same vein. It is the same field. It is the same stuff. This to me is not unethical. To me, this is criminal. So yes, you just got me fired up. So I had heard about it. I could not name,
Balenciaga.
Whatever the name is. What's the name again? Balenciaga, get out of my life. That's what I say.
Hey, but I will say this, because this is actually pretty big in the weight of our depravity of humanity. I've seen still all kinds of things. Like, this is not the first time something like this has happened, and kids, especially the voiceless, have been exploited like that.
Mm-hmm.
But what I did think was cool was, number one, how much attention it got, because the people who do have a voice spoke up.
Yeah, it seems like it.
For what I would
That's
say
good.
was the first time.
Good point.
Like, I've seen celebrities posting on their Instagram, throwing out all these bags of Balenciaga. Now, am I all about canceling? No, that's a different conversation for a different day. But I do think, like, those who had a voice for, I would say the first time I've seen it in at least a while, truly used it, like, for the kids, and even spoke to the brand that they wear, that they love, and held them accountable. So I do think it's some of the highest levels of accountability we've seen, even if they're not trying to get out of it in terms of suing or the production company or whatever it was. I do think the accountability measures there for the whole world, and the fact that it's trending so wide, are known, and that does bring some hope, and is hopeful there. And it got canceled and pulled, and
that is good. I like that.
Images are still
And you
there.
wanted my first reaction. That was it. That was my immediate reaction. All the above. If we bring this down a little bit, if I get off my soapbox for a second and bring it down, I do think that they have to own it. Like I said, suing the company, this is yours. You have to own this. Instead of suing the company, I think they should have come out. Because here's the thing. I keep Balenciaga. Balenciaga is a brand. That's not a person.
With an
So
A.
what? How is it? What is it? What is it?
Balenciaga.
Balenciaga with an A. All right, Balenciaga. Balenciaga is, even if it is named after a person, the company is not. Companies are not like. So in other words, Balenciaga did not sign off on this. Some person did. Some person, someone, or someone's plural. They said, "Yeah, let's do it." So Paradigm Shift. Our company is not. Paradigm Shift makes no decisions. Jess makes a decision. Lemuel makes a decision. Anj makes decisions. Jared makes decisions. We make decisions together. There's a person behind this. Every single person at Bellagio, that's not it. It's not the Bellagio. That's what I'm doing. Oh, I'm combining it with Bellagio Hotel. That's what I'm doing. I just realized what I'm doing subconsciously. I'm combining the Bellagio Hotel with Balenciaga. That's what I'm doing. What is it? Is this what is? Did I say it wrong again? What is it, Jess?
Balenciaga.
I'm going to write it down. Oh, it is close to the Bellagio. All right, Balenciaga. All right, Balenciaga. I told you.
Balenciaga.
I'm really big on this high fashion stuff. Balenciaga. Every single person, even before this came out, I know that there are people within that company that were just as, that detest it just as much. That as soon as it came out, went, oh my Lord, what is happening? Like what? You know what I'm saying? I don't know how big their company is. Thousands of employees, probably across the world. Not everybody agreed to this. Someone did. So if we bring it down to really what we want to talk about, and you have to be careful then as your company grows. This is why we harp on core values. Does everybody on the team know it? Do we know what our values are? Do we know on what we make decisions? Do we understand this is who we are and this is who we are not? These are lines that we will never cross. Now, this one comes into some moral and ethical guidelines. Most of us out there running companies, running organizations, nonprofits, you're not even close to this, but you are in the does every single decision align with our values? And when it doesn't, do we course correct? Do we talk about that? Do we have a conversation? Do we pull people in? The question is funny. I did not know that's what we're going to talk about with the What's Trending. My question for the day, remember I said we're going to have 4 questions over the next 4 weeks. The question today, the number one question I think you have to ask yourself to end the year right is, am I living my priorities? Now, the audience does not believe that we didn't talk about that, but it really goes well with this. Am I living my priorities? I was taking it from a personal perspective. Like, am I living my priorities? Am I allowing work to consume me? Am I prioritizing my family the way that I want to prioritize my family? Am I living out my values? Am I living my priorities? And if Balenciaga is not, if they see this campaign and as a team they go, boy, this is not, then that's where you have to have these cultural interventions. This is an intervention time. If you don't want to get to this, ask yourself this question today. If you don't want to get to crisis, you have to course correct before the crisis. And you have to ask yourself every year, and the end of the year is a great time to do it. I am a big fan of working with the ebb and flow of our natural calendars. December, most of us are ending the year. It's not like you're going to book your biggest gig in December. You're probably not going to come up with it. Everybody's in a general holiday mode. It's a good time to celebrate things. It's a good time to bring things down. And it's a good thing, unless you are in retail. If you're in retail, then yes, you're frontline retail. This is your sell. I totally get it. For most of us, we're not, and this is a good time to pause. In this pause, ask good questions. Over the next few weeks, we hope to give you some of those questions. The first one is, am I living my priorities? As a company, as a team, that begins and ends with your core values. And look back over the year. Look at moments. Look at the high moments. I would encourage you, get with your team. Ask your team. If you are at an organization that you have an executive level, get your executives together and just ask, are we living our priorities? Now, and what that means for a company is, are we making decisions based on core values? Actually, Anj and I had a conversation like this recently, and we recognized with different departments, we're not emphasizing those core values as much as we used to. And we need to get back into that. We recognize we used to do a much better job of using our core values in performance reviews. And the last iteration that we had this fall, we didn't as much. Doesn't mean that it was bad. Doesn't mean that it was terrible. Doesn't mean that we are doing something completely outside of our character or what we believe to be morally holistic, but it means that, wow, we're slightly off. And it's easier to course correct if you're willing to ask the questions. And that's the lesson here. If it's not so much to me that people aren't willing to ask the question, it's they are unwilling to hear the answer.
Oh, sorry. I love someone's got a sign in the office that says, "Does your calendar reflect your priorities or values?" It uses one of the words. And I love just that practical application that I can look at what I did this past year and see, does it align with what I value? So I actually need to do that and see if my priorities are in my calendar.
Yeah, are your priorities in your calendar? It's a great check. And so as a team, you can do that. You can look back and go, well, and the way that you do that is you go, okay, so we got to remember everything. No, you go through the high points like we have done, and we didn't do this meticulously. This was just in our ongoing meetings. It was like, hey, how did this go? But the reflection point in other words, don't just say, well, it was good, it was bad, it was this, it was that. It's, does this align with the priorities? Is this in line with our core values? And we recognized a couple times that it distinctly did not. Like, no, we actually need to incorporate that more. Other times we would say that it did. Like, yeah, that was really good. Like, I would say, honestly, like our August retreat this year, which is our largest annual retreat, I feel like, well, that one, we did a really good job of making that the focus and making sure that it does align with our priorities. And was it time to reevaluate those and make sure that we're still, and what does that mean? What does that mean to us now? What does that mean to, because your value can change. And we talked about this with the culture talk. The values stay the same. The way that they look are different. It's like my value is trust with my children, but the way that looks when I'm teaching them, training them, talking to them when they're 5 changes when they're 12. Like the conversation I'm having with Adelaide, who's now 12, is different. The values haven't changed, but the conversations have changed. The values, the same thing. Well, like, okay, well, what does respect look like when you're a company of 5 versus a company of 25? Well, that looks differently. It's just changes. So people are willing to ask the questions at times, but they're unwilling to hear the answer. So you have to look at brutally honest. And what Lim said is a brutally honest thing. Your calendar, it just reflects it. Another place is your money. What do you spend money on? Where do you spend your time? Where do you spend your money? This goes for your personal life too. If we say that we really care about this stuff, but we don't spend any time or money there, you don't really you don't really care about it as much as you say you do. Your actions are speaking louder than your words. Your priorities, you are not living your priorities. So as we wrap this up, boy, the Balenciaga thing, not Balenciaga, I said it wrong again. Balenciaga. The Balenciaga thing really, really threw me for a loop here because, yes, I did hear about it. I did not know the brand name, but it is an example of what happens when either you don't know your values or you don't teach your values or you have strayed from your values. That's what happens.
Or you got wrong values.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what happens. You then have to know, which I'm just going by what Balenciaga said. They're coming out with a lawsuit saying this was not our value. So to them, you know what I'm saying? I'll take them at face value. And they're saying, no, that's not us. Well, okay. Well, then you are not teaching your values or training your values because look what just came out, So, I mean, I would have a totally different conversation, Lemmy, if someone said, no, we like this. I'd be like, all right, well, then I'm really going to take off the gloves. But we'll talk about that another day.
Some people have deception as one of their values.
Well, sure. Well, in all values, it's like all values, like I said, I mean, people say, my favorite, I can't remember who did this, a fellow trainer, but they said safety is never anyone's top priority. When you get on an airplane and they tell you safety is our number one priority, every airline does it. I travel a lot. Every airline. Delta is where I travel a lot. So shout out to Delta. I love you. But yes, your safety is not really your number one priority. If safety was your number one priority, we would not fly airplanes. Like we would just be like, no, your number one priority is efficiency plus safety. We're going to be as safe as we can while getting you there on an airplane. Oh, that's great. But safety is not any of our top priority, or else we would just be the bubble boy and bubble girl and not go out anywhere. So it's like you have to be honest then. And even like that. So profit is somewhere on every company's value list. Somewhere it is. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a company. Yes, profit is a priority. It is a value. Somewhere, is it the top value? Probably not, but it's there. We have to be honest about those things. That's where I say, be honest with the answers and then look at your calendar. Like Lim said, look at your actions. Review this kind of stuff, but are you living out your priorities? Ask that question. If I could end on a personal note with this, I talk a lot about my family as a husband, as a father, but sometimes we say like, it's easy to, and I'm from the Bible Belt in, Oklahoma. And a good percentage would say of my peers, my contemporaries, in age, in demographic, location, all those things, we would probably all say, faith, family, everything else. That's pretty much, it's a chalk answer. It's an easy answer to say, what are your priorities? Well, my faith, my family, and then maybe career, everything else, third, fourth, fifth, whatever. It's basically faith, family, and everything else. That's not what I mean. Don't answer the question that way. This is not about your company. This is not about your organization. If you're a pastor leading a church, if you're a business entrepreneur, if you're just a great leader in the corporate workspace, wherever you are, you're leading in all those. I'm not talking about that stuff. I'm talking about you as a person. Evaluate the roles in your life. So an exercise, instead of just saying, what are my priorities? I would encourage you during this pause, this reflection season, to say, I am, and you're going to have dozens, if not hundreds of roles that you play. Like, for example, me, Jared, when I say family as my number 2 priority, well, break down the roles that I have with, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a brother, I'm a son, I'm an uncle, I'm a brother-in-law, I'm a grandson, I am, a cousin. I've got a lot of roles under family. So when I say family is my priority, it's not specific enough. I'm not talking about my cousins. I love my cousins. My cousins are great, but they are not my priority. You know what I'm saying? Like, I see them a few times a year. They're great. We have fun. I'm not moving my life around them. So to say family is your priority, you're not being specific enough. You've got to think of the roles you play. Even if I say faith, well, my faith, I'm a believer in Christ. Great. What else are you, Jared, under faith? Well, I'm a preacher at times. I am a teacher. I am a conference organizer. I've got all these different roles that I play. You know what I'm saying? I am, I'm sometimes on videos for the church. Like, I'm a video star. What am I? These are different roles that I play under that heading. So then if you keep going and just think of the roles that you play, I am a speaker. That's a role that I play. I'm also a boss. I'm also a friend. I'm a mentor. Okay, all these roles. I'm also, think of these roles. Get this, it gets crazy. I am a volunteer basketball coach. I am a Salvation Army board member. Like, I've got all these roles in my life. You are going to have dozens, because here's the thing. Man, you are going to miss out on the most important things in life if you mix up roles, if you mix up the priorities. Even when you say, no, my priorities are this. Look at how much, and this is where you can really go, well, how much time do you spend in that role? You're spending more time in a role that you don't really care about than a critical role like father, a critical role like husband, a critical role like friend, critical role like mentor, critical role like whatever faith you have, critical role. These are roles that are critical, because a few years ago I realized I was even doing some roles out of expectation for myself that were not doing what I thought they wanted to do. When Adelaide was younger, she played softball, and I was a softball coach. And I'll be honest, Anj, I'm pretty. I love talking about. I mean, the defense of children. Man, I love kids. I believe that we are called to defend them, and that they are near to God. And so I work really hard as a human to treat every child like they are special, because they are. And so when I'm this volunteer softball coach, I'm really working hard I know every girl's name. I know what they're into. I high five them. I build them up. I cheer them on. I esteem them. And so because of that, honestly, if you want to be really, if you want to make a kid's day, just pay attention. And so I just pay attention to them. And so all these little girls really love that I'm the coach. Like, I'm one of the favorite coaches, if not the favorite coach. I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying this to bring it to a point. I'm saying it to say, at the end of the day, you know why I was coaching? For Adelaide. I was coaching because my daughter's on the team, and I want to spend time with her. But at the end of the season, you know what I realized? Adelaide did not want me to be the coach anymore, because I stopped being daddy and started being coach, which was great for 10 other little girls, and not great for the one girl that I was trying to really reach. Does that make sense? And so sometimes we do these things and that are defensible things. It's a good thing. but it's not achieving the goal you want. It's not the priority you want. And so what I recognize, like, you know what? I'm actually being the coach more, just as much for the peer pressure of my other parents. I have to be honest with myself, and I like being that guy. I like being the guy that's the coach, that's good with kids, that is there for people, that is a leader in the community. And I needed to put all this aside and say, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to coach next year. Oh, come on. We really need you to coach. You're so good to get that. You know, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Why? Because I want to show Adelaide that she is the most important one out here to me. And that's what I mean by challenger roles. Even a role like I am being a coach for my child. Maybe you're not. Well, I am being a provider. I'm working overtime for my family. Maybe they would rather have less money and more of you. Maybe they would rather have more time with you. Maybe even, you know, like you're doing all these things. So challenge your roles, your priorities. I know I went really deep there at the end, but I just think that this is the time to do it. And we do not allow ourselves to swallow those hard answers, make those hard decisions. This time, this is the season to do it. Are you living your priorities? All right. Close this out with your final thought, Anj.
I think when it comes to all the things you talked about, priorities, core values, all the high hits there, it is more tempting to be reactive than proactive. So you don't want to fix your family until something's wrong. You don't want to evaluate why your kid's going off the rails until they are. It's very hard to think proactively, not just 6 months, but 5 years from now. What do I want my kids to say in terms of what I'm doing right now? Or even for work. Oh, this is in the back of my head. We got to do it. And then someone quits because they're so not taken care of. Like, man, I knew I should have been prioritizing that, but I wasn't. So I just would land to say the temptation is to be more reactive than proactive, but set yourself up to end this year and go into the new year saying what proactiveness is most required of my attention so I don't have to be reactive later on.
I love it. That is really good stuff. And this is the time. This is the time. You have to, if you're going to be proactive, like Anj is saying, you have to pause and give yourself time to think about the areas that you need to improve. And that's okay. Give yourself permission to that. If no one else is giving you permission to do that, leader, we are giving you permission to do that. We are by your side metaphorically, and we know that it's stressful. We know that you got a lot going on, but this is a time for you to pause, reflect, prioritize, and then think about your calendar and the rest of the year and how you're going to do that. When you do that, you take time to pause and be proactive, you will be a good leader.